So from then, I really got active in my SSDP chapter, and actually right after we got back from the conference, the Virginia Tech shootings happened, which was a really intense part of my life, to say the least. One of our assistant peers was actually in the classroom where the shootings happened, and yeah, tough times. But anyway, on to brighter things. After that, I took a year off of school after that and moved to Colorado, took some pictures, relaxed, good times, lost a lot of money, but really enjoyed it. And afterwards, really realized that I missed something, and I was pretty sure that something had to do with drug policy, and it started with an S and ended with SDP. So I came back to school at the University of Maryland after crashing on Stacia Cosner's couch for a while, and started getting involved in the SSDP chapter there. So totally, completely changed my life being involved in this wonderful organization. I went to so many drug policy conferences after that, thanks to supporters like you with scholarship money, wink wink, and had just an amazing time. I now work for the Criminal Justice Policy Foundation, legalizing drugs full time, right? No wonder I never knew what to write on those like kindergarten what you want to do when you grow up things. So, really worked out well for me, love and life, fantastic. And I've seen so many beautiful people just develop and grow through their experiences with SSDP. It's such an incredible organization. I owe my life to it, I really, really do. But with this, welcoming all of you, welcoming all of our amazing speakers tonight. I really, really hope that everyone here gets a chance to interact with each other, exchange some business cards, DC style. And I'd like to welcome our first speaker, a second, Brandon Levey, who was a former president of the University of Maryland SSDP chapter, one of my best friends. Really, such a superhero. Everyone should talk to him afterwards. Brandon Levey, give it up.
I don't think I ever had an introduction like that, so thank you, Irina. I actually just came back from meeting with my state senator in his office today, and we talked about drugs. He told me that he thinks drugs should be legalized and regulated, which was a huge surprise. I had no idea that he was for that. And you know, really just a couple of years ago, until I got involved in SSDP, I had no idea that this is what I'd be doing, that I'd be meeting with my state senator talking about drugs. So I just want to, for a couple of minutes, talk about how SSDP really changed my life. When I was younger, I was a bit of a political nerd. I traveled into Iowa for the Dean campaign in 9th grade, and after high school I took a year and a half off where I worked for Obama as a political organizer in New Hampshire. And then after the election, I came to UMD. And I wanted to spend some time doing something where I felt empowered. I felt like I really was making a difference. And I wanted to be with like-minded students making real change, not only on campus, but really around the world. So I went to some meetings, I went to the Young Democrats, I went to the sustainability clubs, and they were great, they do some great things, but it really seemed to me that most of those clubs had people that were doing it so they had a resume booster, so they could go to graduate school, they could get a job afterwards, and they could just have them on their resume. And then I stumbled into an SSDP meeting, a Student Sustainable Drug Policy meeting, and Irina was the head at the time. Not used to speaking in a microphone, sorry. But there was something really different in SSDP that I didn't find in other groups. Parenthetically, a few people, especially freshmen, they come to the first meeting of SSDP, and they hear the word drug in the name. They have no idea what SSDP does, they're just coming right out of high school. They weren't at their high school, they didn't have a chapter, obviously. And they expect they're coming to a meeting where they can score some drugs. You hear like the, hey man, do you know where to get some bud? Very occasionally, I think less and less often. SSDP is just becoming better and better known now. But they rather quickly realize their error, and they find that SSDP is not a place like that. Instead, it's really an organization that gets things done, things that make a positive difference in people's lives and our society as a whole. And just from passing life-saving Good Samaritan policies on campuses, such as UMD last year. Or I mean, even expanding now with our entire states, such as Connecticut, New York, Washington State, New Mexico, and others, hopefully in the next year, hopefully Maryland this coming year. And then also raising awareness about failed drug laws, setting up huge demonstrations on our campus, they have much local and regional media coverage. which I was a part of, which was a really cool experience at UMD, to successfully lobbying for a rollback of the crack cocaine disparity. SSDP really is a successful organization that really changed my life. Ever since Irina convinced me to attend the DBA and SSDP conferences 2 years ago, and last year, and earlier this year as well. I know I really couldn't have afforded those conferences if SSDP did not help me go to them. And I was convinced it was a cause that I wanted to get involved in. I learned that the American-led drug war negatively affects literally everyone. Drug users, non-drug users, white, black, rich, poor, foreigners, and citizens of the US, pretty much every demographic group, and negatively affects everything. Science, education, the environment, the economy, the criminal justice system, and more. And the fact is stereotypes almost always have a semblance of truth to them. And the stereotype that my generation, and our generation I guess, is largely apathetic is no exception. Just a small anecdote, last week, on my first day of the last year of college, we went around the room in a seminar on activism in the 1900s to discuss our own personal activism. And the answers from others in the class, most of whom actually were seniors, ranged from like, I attended John Stewart's rally, or I recycle. It was really, really sad. But you know, SSDP and our chapter members at UMD and really around the country and now around the world, really, that is an exception. For me personally, I went from finding drug policy mildly interesting to becoming the co-president of our campus chapter. Because of the amazing way that SSDP, as a primarily student-led organization, empowers students to get involved and make change. SSDP, as I'm sure most of you guys know here, it really isn't a group where some old guy in a suit in an office is telling students what campaigns to work on. And no offense to like any old guys in suits here, but rather we're students are the ones making those decisions. I mean, even the board of directors is 2/3 run by students, and the other third is appointed by students. So, yeah, it's an organization that has clout. Earlier today, I had a really productive meeting with my state senator, and he was really impressed with SSDP's accomplishments, and hopefully will help us move forward with the Good Samaritan policy this coming year. So, really with the continued support of each and every one of you, we're making a difference, and we're really fueling the future of drug policy reform. And you have my sincere thanks. And now I get the honor of introducing one of my personal heroes, Stacia Cosner, who was a UMD SSDP chapter member and the chapter president, and now is the associate director of SSDP.
Thank you so much, Brandon. That was great. I'm so lucky, that Brandon is the head of my now alumnus school, University of Maryland. He's just done a fantastic job after Irina. My name is Stacia Cosner. I work for Students for Sensible Drug Policy, just a couple blocks from here, actually. I'm our associate director. And I'll be brief. I just want to tell you a little bit about our next speaker. His name is Trey. We met actually on the street randomly. He was out with a couple of his buddies selling his autobiography. And so, usually I just pass those folks by who are trying to sell things or promote things on the street. There's a lot of canvassers and stuff here in DC. But when I walked by this group, I heard them say something about HBO's The Wire, and I kind of rubbernecked, and I was like, oh, well, what is this that we're talking about? What's going on here? And so I tapped Trey on the shoulder to see what the deal was, and he turned around and he started giving me the, oh yeah, so I was actually played a character on The Wire, and I was like, dude, I know who you are. Come on, I've seen every single episode of The Wire, at least 5 or 6 times. It's a fantastic program. It really means a lot to me because drug policy is something that I'm passionate about, and I was also born in Baltimore. So I think it just demonstrates beautifully the failure of drug prohibition. And here to tell you a little bit more about that is Poot Chaney.
I wish I could get an introduction like that all the time when I do events. Big shout outs to Stacia, man. But like she said, I'm Poot Chaney. Many of you may know me as playing the role of Poot on the HBO series The Wire for 5 years. How many of us want The Wire to come back? Yeah. just like we need to legalize marijuana, right? we need the wire to come back. But just, I wanted to definitely, I jotted down a couple of notes that I wanted to stress the point about because, you know, today is definitely an important day. And for me to be a part of such a major show that touched on the subject of legalizing, you know, marijuana, I wanted to come out and just really speak on a couple of topics. So I think, you know, one of the main reasons is because if marijuana was taxed and regulated like alcohol, that would probably allow street drug dealers to become more legitimate businessmen. Because when you think about it, you know, drug dealers don't check for ID. So you know, with that being the concept, it's up to us to like bring a real cause and natural positive outlook to this situation. And I just think if everyone comes together as a whole and we really fight for what we want, it can all happen. You know, so another point that I wanted to stress was really this is a touching point that I actually jotted down because when you think about that episode in the 3rd season where they wanted to legalize drugs, it was because it led to like a violent depression in our cities while creating a culture in which well-intentioned police officers and politicians felt more compelled to send the right message, which, whatever that means. But the drug policy from a national standpoint, it can, like one of the good friends of mine, Montel, it's Montel Williams, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, is that his name? So one of those situations, man, where, you know, here he is trying to legalize it because of the disease that he may have that's actually helping him out. And my thing is, if more police officers like focus more on the real crime and violence that was going on in our communities about people running around and shooting up people and stuff like that, instead of going to the next person and say, hey, we're gonna lock you up for marijuana when you don't know what the cause of that is. I just think, you know, this cause on legalizing marijuana is definitely something that I stand behind. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Trey Chaney, Poot from the Wire, and right now, we're about to introduce a very good friend of mine, Mr. Aaron Houston. Thanks, man.
All right. Are you guys feeling the power of student involvement here today? This is what student-led, student-organized, student activism looks like, right? It's the faces in this room. And it's because of you that we're able to make this happen. It's because of you that today, based on some of the activism that 400 students engaged when they were here in Washington for our lobby day back in March, where Congressman Polis was nice enough to come and speak and say some words of wisdom to those students. It's because of that activism, of those 400 students hitting Capitol Hill, and how many of you were at that conference? Give a shout out. All right. I didn't hear you shouting out, Polis. So, it was because of that activism. They went to the Hill, you all went to the Hill and told Congress that the National Youth Anti-Drug Media Campaign sucks and it doesn't work. And that these ads that say that if you smoke marijuana, then you're going to swallow your fist, or you're going to cause terrorism, or, you know, shoot your friend in the chest, right? And those ads now, I'm told by my good friend Bill Piper at Drug Policy Alliance, as of today, are zeroed out in both the House and the Senate. And what that actually means, practically, everybody, is that there is pretty much zero chance at this point that that campaign will actually get any dollars for fiscal 12. That probably means, for the first time in the existence of the history of SSDP, we will not have a National Youth Anti-Drug Media Campaign next year. Right? It's something to do. Of course, our other message when we went to the Hill was legalize marijuana. Pass the bill, pass 2306, that Congressman Barney Frank, Congressman Jared Polis introduced back in June. let's pass that bill. Of course, at the time, the bill wasn't introduced, but the Students' Activism was very much part of making sure that bill did get introduced in June. And it's thanks to our friends in Congress, through incredibly courageous and thoughtful people like Congressman Polis, that this is actually happening. It's also because of thoughtful people like Niambe Tosh, who is a mother and a teacher. And she is the face of what we need to be focused on in terms of who should be speaking out in this movement, who should be speaking out for marijuana legalization. And so it's my great pleasure tonight. I don't want to take a whole lot of time. I'd like to introduce a friend of SSDP's who has been an incredible ally of ours, and who we worked with earlier in the year on the Legalize It video contest. We worked with Niambe and the Tosh Estate and Sony Records on doing a Legalize It video contest where we asked our students, and actually Niambe did a video asking our students, what does Legalize It mean to you? Do a video telling us, what does Legalize It mean to you? And I'll tell you, the responses were amazing. What we got back: freedom, respect, responsibility, freedom, over and over again, freedom. And that's what it's all about, right? That's why we're here tonight, because it is wrong that people get thrown in jail for putting something into their bodies, marijuana into their bodies, that's less harmful than alcohol. So Niambe asked our student population, tell me in a video, an ad, what does Legalize It mean to you? And carrying on the incredible legacy of her father, Peter Tosh, who in 1976 introduced Legalize It, which was a groundbreaking song at the time. And by the way, I've listened to it so many times that I actually have the falsetto Legalize It now. I can sing it. Stacia can actually vouch for that. Don't criticize. Sorry.
You got it.
Not bad. So tonight, I'd like to present an award. I'd like to present an award to Niambe. I'd like to grab that award and give her the mic right now and let her say a few words. Thank you so much, Niambe.
It's an honor to be here with Students for Sensible Drug Policy. Together, we are carrying on my father's legacy that he started way back in 1976 when he told the world, one of the first pioneers of the Legalize It movement. You know, SSDP has a slogan where they say, the war on drugs is a war on us. And as a teacher, predominantly, and as a mother, I definitely see how the war on drugs is always, a war on us. And back in spring, they had 400 students come all the way to DC to educate themselves on how to legalize it, how they can legalize it. And they took that message back across the nation. And we look forward to just, working with SSDP and Trevor Fitzgibbon, who's been awesome, to promote that message. It's a movement that every day we struggle to keep it moving. So I just wanted to thank SSDP, Aaron, particularly Trevor Fitzgibbon, and Stacia. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would like to present you the first ever Legalize It award on behalf of SSDP. And the next Legalize It award I'd like to present is to a personal friend of mine, we go way back. Congressman Polis has been one of the most outspoken advocates for marijuana legalization on Capitol Hill. And if that doesn't deserve a big round of applause, I don't know what. And as I say, I'm lucky enough to count Jared Congressman Polis as a personal friend of mine. We go back to our days in Colorado when he was running for office for the State Board of Education. And in fact, it's really fitting that Congressman Polis is here to receive this award because, and it's fitting that I'm doing this introduction because really he and I got into politics. I think it's fair to say that both of us were really youthful. We were really right out of student activism. Now Jared as a congressman makes me feel like a loser sometimes. But you know, it's really fitting because Congressman Polis, I think, embodies the spirit and the resolve of youth activism, and brings that spirit of activism to Capitol Hill, and also, I have to say, an incredible wisdom for your years, or for any congressman, really. And it's because of that he's speaking out on marijuana legalization. It's because of that Congressman Polis has taken on an issue that a lot of people would wrongly, by the way, but wrongly say, don't touch that. You can't do that. You can't go there. And in fact, when I first got involved in legalizing marijuana back in 2003, I heard from friends of mine who said, don't do it. You're gonna blackball yourself. You're gonna be out of a job. You're not gonna be able to work anymore. And here we are, 8 years later, and I think the joke's on them. Because we're really close to legalizing it. We are really, really close to legalizing it. And a big part of making that happen is Congressman Jared Polis. So I'd like to introduce Congressman Polis, and I'd like to present this award to you, Congressman, the Legalize It.
Thank you, Aaron. It's really exciting to be here with so much enthusiasm and youth activism. Kind of when Brandon was talking earlier, he said this isn't the type of activism that had resumes like some of those other, clubs or organizations. Everybody is here because this is where the energy is, and they're true believers. And the youth movement in the long run, and the young people here today will be the next generation of leaders that will carry the values that they took with them in this fight to positions of responsibility in our communities, whether that's in business or city council or school board or wherever else life takes any of the people here. There's a big difference between grassroots and astroturf movements. Sometimes too often in the partisan political world, what we see is, and try to pretend is grassroots, is actually astroturf. It's a deliberate effort to use structure and finances to create the look or the appearance of real enthusiasm from the people of the country. What we have here is the opposite. It's a real bottom-up movement. It's a real group of young people, people of all ages, banding together across the country for something that's very simply right and the correct policy outcome of this particular issue. Having that on our side, however, does not guarantee victory. There are many just causes that have not seen victory yet. It takes a lot of hard work, just as the civil rights movement has and does, just as the gay rights movement has and does, so too making sure that people that use marijuana either recreationally or for medicinal purposes are not subjected to prison or having their own rights violated. Standing up for those people is very important as well. So I'm honored to be the recipient of this award. As we were talking earlier, we only have, I think, a little more than a dozen sponsors of our decriminalization bill nationally. We need a lot more. We need a lot more members of Congress. That can happen two ways. One, you can convince members of Congress to join us and co-sponsor the bill, and two, we can get out and elect different members of Congress that to support it. So we need to pursue both of those to win this battle. Thank you.
This concludes the fantastic programming that we put together for you tonight. Thank you so much, Congressman Jared Polis, for your leadership on this and for being present tonight to accept this award. Thank you so much, Niambe Tosh, for being here and for being an incredible outspoken voice. Niambe actually brought her baby, if those of you who don't know, so she's really gone above and beyond being here tonight. Thank you, Trey, for speaking out. Thank you so much for your continued activism. And I won't talk at you anymore, except to say that it is through your support that we can continue to make this work happen. It's through your support and your continued donations that we can actually make this happen, and we can legalize marijuana. And so I would urge each of you to consider becoming a monthly donor. Monthly donors are really how we sustain ourselves. It's how we know what kind of cash flow we're going to have day to day. And because we are a student-led and student-run organization, we often don't have a base really that is a significant fundraising base. So we rely on people who have had the amazing experience of being an SSDP chapter leader like yourselves, who know the value of it, who know that training these students will lead to legalizing marijuana. So I encourage you to think about that tonight. Thank you so much for being here.